everyone, it's Leona with Leona's Designs. Welcome to December's Bird of the Month. This month our bird is a cardinal, and we're going to be creating this printed cardinal that I drew onto fabric. And this will be our last bird of the month for the year 2025. And I'm excited because once I get him done, I'm going to be able to put together all my 6 by 6 inch blocks and make a wall hanging, which I will hopefully get done soon after I get him created. And I will be back on to show you the results sometime this month. But right now, I'm going to show you kind of what I've got in mind. I've got a bunch of fabric scraps laying around here in red. Just different prints and pieces of red fabric. I've got a piece of yellow or gold fabric for his beak. I've got a little piece of black fabric around here somewhere for his covering here by his beak. And then I thought, here's the black. And then I thought, what am I going to make this branch out of? I drew a green branch with some pine cones. Didn't really have any fabric that would really match that, except maybe this or this. I thought this would probably work really well. So we'll see what happens when we get to that far. But I have cut him out, fussy cut him out, and I'm going to use this bird here for my pattern to go on this 6 inch block. And this will kind of be my branch pattern, depending what fabric I use, I guess. And I've already stitched around the edges of the block, so I know where my border line is here, and I kind of trimmed him down a little bit to fit on this block. Originally he was a little taller, but I trimmed him down so he could fit on the block. I will have this pattern available in my Ko-fi shop if you want to go there and get the pattern and try to make a fabric bird yourself out of this pattern. It's not the cut down one because, you might be using a bigger block than me, but you could cut it down. I just kind of trimmed his tail off here and just kind of reduced his crest or his crown, whatever you call that. So it was just a little bit. I took it down to fit this 6 by 6 block. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to decide how I want to adhere the fabric. I think I'm going to trace around the whole bird, and then I will cut him up in pieces. Cut the black out, the beak out, and his wing. And I just want to use some different, I don't want it to be all one red fabric. I want to use some different fabrics just to give it a little more interest. It's like this. I really want to use this. And I thought this was interesting. Might add a little bit of interest. I've got a big piece of red here. This. This maybe. Here's a little bit of Christmas. So it'll be fun putting them together. Got this too. And I don't think it'll be very hard. So first of all, I'm going to just trace around him. I think I'll pin him down and trace around him so he fits well right here. within the border. And we'll get started. I hope everyone is having a good December after the Thanksgiving holiday, getting ready for Christmas. Advent starts today. Well, actually, really started yesterday on November 30th. I don't know if any of you are doing Advent, but I'm doing it this year. And I have an Advent candle that I'm planning to light every night and read scriptures. So, looking forward to that. So I'm just going to trace as best I can his outline onto this fabric. And I might end up using a black pen because I will be stitching over it. I am going to slow stitch him. I don't know how well this pencil will show up. So I'm going to keep tracing, and once I get them all traced, I'll be right back. Okay, I think I got them all traced. I'm going to see how it looks now. Take these pins out. Yep. Sorry, I bumped that camera. Okay. Just take this off. And voila, there he is. Okay. So now I can start cutting them up and tracing them onto fabric to get my pieces. So let's see. Use my paper scissors to cut him up. Guess I'll start here with the black. I don't really know what this is called, but just call it the black piece around his face. And then I'll cut the beak out. Okay, so now we have this piece and the beak, which we can cut from fabric. And then I'm going to cut the tail separate. So we have the tail. And then I'm going to cut, this is the wing. I'm going to cut the wing separate. And I kind of want to cut this separate. And this too, if I can figure out, let me see. This will be his breast. Maybe I'll just cut this right to here, maybe. So, hopefully I have enough different fabric now to complete this idea. So, let's set these aside, and I think I can cut this out first and put it on because the black is going to kind of meet that. So I'm going to trace it this way. usually do cut it a little bigger than what I traced it, just to make sure that I give myself a little leeway in overlapping. Okay, so there we go. Hopefully that's going to be a beak. Looks good. I probably will just glue that down so that I can stitch it in place. I do have my little iron available, so I can iron some of this fabric that needs to be smoothed down. The black, let's see. It would really be fun if I had some kind of patterned black fabric, but I don't. So, I'm gonna have to iron this down. Whoops. It's not cooperating. Okay, doesn't really matter which side I put this on because it's the same on both sides. So obviously I cannot trace this unless I want to use a white pen. So I'm just going to pin it and trim that out. Just give myself a little leeway on cutting it a little wider. Now, if you didn't want to slow stitch it, maybe even if you did, you could use that steam-a-seam, which a lot of people use, and I like it, but it doesn't work for me if I want to slow stitch something. I've tried it. Oh, how does this go now? Like this, I guess. I've tried steam-a-seam with slow stitching, and it just didn't work for me. So I think I have to get this a little closer here. There, that should work. Okay, so we got 2 done. Where's my little beak? Gotta keep these pieces so I can make a pattern for you guys. Okay, so I'm just gonna continue cutting pieces out like that with the rest of this, and I'll be back to show you how it all comes together, and we'll start gluing and slow stitching. Okay, well, this is it so far. I think it's a little bit too crazy. I think I'm not going to use this. I'm gonna cut one out of here, I think. And then I'm not sure about that crest either. I thought this was cute because it had the candy cane. But I'm gonna cut, just to show you what I'm doing, I glue the back side of the piece with a glue stick, just a little bit, and put it on the fabric where I want it, and then I just cut around it. And then peel it off. The glue stick just peels peels it right off. Yeah, but I wanted to try some different fabric just to see what it would look like, but I think it's just a little bit too many patterns. So let's see how this would look. Yeah, I think that's better. Maybe I'll use this for the crown too. Maybe I could use this for the crown. I don't know if that would fit. Maybe. Doesn't quite fit. Have to get the other piece. I'm just going to keep playing around until I find something that I think looks good, but just gives you an idea of how you can play around with different fabrics and pieces to see how you want it to come together. Okay, so I did replace the crown. I cut it out of this piece, and I think it makes it look really more realistic. So I like that. And now I don't like this candy cane in there. So I think I'm going to cut that breast piece out of something. Not sure what. I don't know if I have another piece. Maybe I could use that. I don't know if I have a different kind of piece. Just a plain red one, maybe. That's kind of purple. Maybe this, but I don't know how that would look. I'll try this. And then if I can't, I might have to go looking for another piece of red. Really didn't want to use the same fabric twice. So let me see if I can figure out how to place this without getting that union name in there. Oh, maybe that'll work. Let's try it and see what happens. This is the fun part, is just keep trying different fabrics to see what looks the best. I think anyway, I think it's fun. It's what I do with my paper collage. Sometimes I just make it look realistic. Sometimes I make it look a little crazy. But let's see what this will look like. I think this is going to make it look a little more realistic. Yes, I like that very much. Okay. So we tried it a couple of different ways, and I think I'm going to settle on this. So now what I'm going to do is start gluing pieces down so I can stitch them. I'm going to get my big glue stick and I'll be right back. Oh, I forgot. I got to cut out the branch before I start working on him. So I think it's going to go this way. So hopefully I can. I don't think I can use this piece. Might just have to use this. because I need it to go underneath his breast and his tail. So I'm just going to cut a piece out of this, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, yeah. Just glue this down and cut this out, and then I'll be back. Okay, I think that'll work. Kind of had to improvise on this side, but I think that's going to look good. So first of all, I have to glue this down and then start putting the other things on top of it. So I guess we will get started with our big glue stick. And I'm going to remove these pieces. And glue this branch down. Like right there where I set it. Hopefully. So I'm going to have to cut it off right here. Just enough so I can get it stitched down. And it won't move then. I can start layering the other pieces on top. Trying to stretch it out there. Okay, should work. I'm going to stitch that down with, I've got some green thread here. I don't know if I want to use that though. I think I might just use my black. And I've got a needle threaded with some black. I think that might look better. Let's see. See if I got a different color green, then I can. I'm just using regular sewing thread. I'm going to see if I have a different color green. Okay, I found a different color green. I think it really blends in better. So I'm going to use that to stitch with. I'm just going to do some running stitches all across this branch. So I'm going to remove all these pieces. Set them there. This out of the way. And I'm going to start stitching this branch now. Start here at the small one, just so I can get it stitched down before I start adding the pieces. So I hope, you are being inspired by this video as it's going along. I'm, just kind of winging it. Oops, don't get knotted up on me now. Just started. Hopefully that knot will pull through. Yes, good. Okay, I'm just going to continue stitching this and won't make you watch every stitch, but I'm just going to do running stitches all along. I did want to say that cardinals are the bird of the month for December. They're the bird I chose. There is another bird that they say is for December. It's the raven. But I chose December's bird to be the cardinal because, you know, around Christmas you usually see a lot of Christmas cards or images that show cardinals, and they're so beautiful and striking with their red color in the white background of snow. And if you live in the northern part of the U.S., you might have seen some. Excuse me. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and I've seen some here in the winter. Excuse me, I bumped the camera again. I also used to live in Illinois, so seen a lot of them there. And they are very beautiful. They are known for loyalty, commitment, and love. They're very committed to their families. Excuse me. So they are the bird of the month for December. So if you were born in December, this would be your bird. Okay, I'm going to just continue stitching along this branch, and I'll be back. Okay, I've got the branch all stitched down. So I think my next thing is to put on the beak, because that's going to go underneath everything. And I'll put a little bit of glue on there, just to hold it down enough to stitch. And I did cut it big enough so it does cover up those lines that those tracing lines. Okay, so let me see, do I have yellow? Yes. I have some yellow thread here. Just going to stitch that on really quick, and then get on with the rest of it. Move this up a little so I don't keep hitting it. I hope I'm not making this look difficult. I just, kind of want you to know it's not really difficult. It's just a matter of deciding what fabrics you want to use and then placing them on there and then starting to glue down and stitch. But if you don't want to glue down, then you could always use steam a seam and see if you could slow stitch on it. I really didn't like it for stitching, but maybe, it would work for you. Or if you didn't want to stitch at all, you could just glue everything down. Because mine's going on a wall hanging, so I don't have to worry about, being washed. I really do not like how this needle is making these big holes in the fabric. But my only alternative would be then to glue another piece down on top of it, which I might do, I don't know. We'll see how it ends up looking. Just doing what they call stab stitching right now. So I think maybe because that fabric's so thin, it just shows, excuse me, it shows those holes. So maybe I will cut another one and glue it over the top. Just because I don't want that raggedy look. You know, just sometimes you have to improvise as you go along. So I'm gonna glue this down to this piece. And I'm gonna cut it out and glue it down on the top of, excuse me, glue it down on top of that piece I already stitched. And we'll see how that looks. If I had used felt, I probably wouldn't have had the same look because felt is a little bit stronger than this thin cotton. I don't think I cut that big enough to cover up all the, let's see. I guess it'll be okay. All right, I'm going to put the black piece down now. And start stitching that. And hopefully this will look good if I put this on top. Yes, I think it will. And this part, where is that? This part. That will look good on top also. Okay. Oops, I hit the camera again. Ugh, sorry. All right, I'm going to stitch this down and I'll be back. I'm just ending up gluing everything down first before I finish stitching because I just want to make sure I get everything under or on top of each other the correct way before I start stitching it down. So I figured the best way to do it is glue it all down first and then start stitching. That way nothing will be out of order, I guess you could say. So I'm going to put this down and then put that wing down. Then I won't have to worry about pulling out stitches because something's stitched wrong. I do not like to pull out stitches. I don't think any of us do. All right, let's see how this goes now. Some glue there I don't want. Okay, I think that's going to be good. I think that's going to look really good. I like how all the colors kind of blend in together. But this is a little darker than this. So I think once it's all stitched, it's going to look really pretty. I like how this branch looks too. It's green, but it's not overpowering. So it kind of resembles this. All right, so now I can start stitching on the black, and I'll let this glue dry a little bit before I start putting the needle through it, and I'll be back. Before I start stitching, I found this little piece. I was fooling around with what his eye was going to look like. I found this piece out of the scrap. So I think I'm going to use that for the eye. Just going to glue that down. I think it makes a good eye. Right there. Kind of blends in with everything around it. So that's going to be his eye. So that's just an idea for you. You know, if you're wondering, how am I going to make his eye? Look for a little scrap of fabric that maybe you could cut a dot out of, or I had this other fabric here. Cut another dot out. Can't find it now, but it was kind of like this. I just cut that out, but it didn't look as good. So this is how I'm making his eye. And I'm going to let this dry a little more, and then I'll be back to stitch. Okay, so I stitched a little bit along here just to hold his beak down, and I'm just going to continue stitching along the edge in this black. I did draw a line there to kind of accent his beak. But basically, all I'm doing is straight stitches. Just in the areas where the red doesn't overlap. Make sure that this black is stitched down. So I stitched here and here. And I think I'll just start with red now and go around the rest of it all over. That should do it. Mainly the red stitching. And I think just the straight stitches or the running stitches. We'll secure everything. I've got this thread really long. Not really liking how that's showing up. Okay, I'm going to take that stitch out and try it again. Might get a little darker red. For this part. Or maybe I should use black. No. Might show up too much. Let me see if I got a different color red. Okay, I got a little bit darker thread. It's kind of like a maroon thread. And I think it looks much better. Kind of blends more into the fabric than that orangey red that I had. So we're going to see how this works out. It's kind of almost looks like it's black, but it's not. Oops. Well, I think that's going to look okay once I get it done all around. Just going to be slow going. That's why it's called slow stitch. And we're not in a hurry, so just stitch slow and meditate and give thanks that we have made it all through the year, doing a bird every month, and we're going to have a beautiful wall hanging. If you have, excuse me, followed me all through the year and are doing your last bird, I would love to hear. Picking up this white from the batting. I would love to hear if you are stitching this 12th bird and if you're planning to make a wall hanging or what you're planning to do. If you followed this all year, I'd love to hear. Or if you're just making the December bird, love to hear that too. I'll put a link in the description box to my Instagram if you'd like to share an image of your creation. Love to see it. I hope I've inspired you in some way. I know I've been kind of touch and go here with this, but hopefully it was inspiring. I will continue stitching all around, and I'll be back to show the end result. Okay, well, I'm calling it done. I did a lot of stitching on it. Once I get started stitching, I don't like to stop, so I did a lot of extra stitching on his wing and his tail, and on his crest or his crown, and I think it turned out really nice. Really happy with it. So I'm going to put all these 12 blocks together and make my wall hanging, and I hope to be back soon to show you how it turned out. Thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone who subscribed, who follows, who watches and likes the videos. I really had a great time this year creating every month's bird of the month, and I hope you did too. Check out my Ko-fi shop. I will have the pattern for this cardinal in there if you'd like to make one yourself. Thanks again for watching. Have a blessed day and a blessed Christmas. Bye-bye.